So it's interesting that the two Cinderella teams are in the same semifinal.
Mhm.
Um, you just always have to keep your eyes on those Cinderella teams because here's the thing, what do they have to lose?
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Flipping Out with Bridget Sloan. I am your host, Bridget Sloan, and this is a podcast where you are going to be hearing from the amazing guests I have lined up for you, whether that is an athlete, a coach, a fellow ESPN analyst, and really anybody who wants to come on this platform and share their story. And today's guest, she's back. She's a returning guest of the Flipping Out pod. Please give it up for Miss Kathy Johnson Clarke. Well, Miss Kathy Johnson Clarke, the returning Kathy Johnson Clarke, welcome back to the Flipping Out podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Which I love, but the name, have I told you that by the way yet?
No,
Oh, yeah. Flipping out? Are you kidding?
you
Yeah.
know, I came up with it when I was driving in my car. It was like, those random thoughts that I was like, wow, that's actually kind of catchy.
Yeah.
Ran it by my team and they're like, wait, that's actually pretty good. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes.
And we never flip out ever. We never ever flip out over anything.
No, we are very, very smooth, steady, we keep it chill. We definitely keep it chill, right?
Yeah.
Well, Kathy, there is a competition coming up. That is the biggest competition in NCAA gymnastics, and that is the championships back in good old Fort Worth. We're back.
Yeehaw!
And yes, exactly. Yeehaw. But there's a lot of teams that are going that maybe might surprise people. There are a ton of amazing individuals, and there's nobody that I would like to discuss all of these things with other than you. So let's just get into it.
Dive in.
So, post regionals were bananas.
Yeah.
4 regionals in total, 2 teams per regional qualified. So, right now, as it stands, and I'm going to go by ranking, you have Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, Florida, Utah, Alabama, Arkansas, and Stanford. Are those I'm just gonna ask you a really loaded question. Were those your top 8 at one point this whole entire season?
No, no. Many of them were. I locked in from week 1,
Mhm,
the second meet we covered, that Utah, the 3 quad meets, and the first moment I laid eyes on Cal, I went, "Okay,
mhm,
okay." And in that moment, I thought, "This is the one team that I actually believe could give Oklahoma a run for their money."
mhm,
And that's saying something because I think everybody knows how I described Oklahoma in that first week when they asked, like, what is it about Oklahoma? It's like, oh my God, it's everything. It's
mhm,
everything. And they are still the team to beat. I mean, they are the ones to beat. They are the standard to which everybody is building toward. Um, so Cal really jumped in there. LSU did as well because
mhm.
Bart and I covered their first dual meet. We did LSU, Ohio State, and then out at the quad meet. And I went, and I kind of expected it from LSU because of the previous year. So watching LSU manage a season that was just unreal in terms of the injuries thrown at them. Every
Mhm.
time you turned around, somebody was going down with an injury, and it's like, at one point, Jay texted me, he goes, "I don't know if because we had a meet coming up. I don't know if we have enough bodies. I don't know if we have a lineup on this, like, I have no idea how we're gonna do this." And then every single week
Mhm.
kept climbing. Interesting, that was their theme all season is just the climb, and no matter what happened, it developed and built in a resilience,
Mhm.
this team, and strengthened their heart in terms of their fight, okay? Because all great teams have passion and heart, and they love each other, and they want there's no team that isn't like that, but they are battle tested, and they were
Mhm.
warriors, and to end up 4th, my gosh. So, now they got bodies, and they get Kaya Johnson back, and so I was like, "Okay, this could be a magical season for them because they kept everything that they developed that are just the magic sauce, sort of the intangible,
Mhm.
the stuff that you just unless you go through it, you don't build it. You know this. I mean,
Mhm.
the hard times that you endured, when you add that layer to your development, to your inner strength, both physically, mentally, and emotionally,
Mhm.
that's just you can't buy that. You can't make that up. You have to develop it and be tested through it. So those 3 teams, Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, I have not wavered, not one bit all season long. Even when they
Mhm.
had like a little dip or something, even when they had a little because you expect that. Um, it was that 4th spot. I was like, okay, we're all just rotating, and I've got like 4 or 5 teams, that rotated in my head. And in the beginning, it sure seemed like it was going to be Kentucky's year to like really get in there. They were having such a great season. And Raina Worley, who wouldn't want that for
Mhm.
Raina Worley, who's just been, you know, a rock and a bright light at the same time, like a rock with a
Yeah.
bright light on it. It was just really special. So, and seeing what Missouri has done over the past few years, the incredible job that they've done. And then at the same time, I'm seeing a reemerging Alabama because I wrote that.
Mhm.
I don't know if I shared it with you. So I did my beginning season notes, and I actually mentioned both Georgia and Alabama as because let's face it, I mean, in our history of NCAA gymnastics, legendary programs, Alabama,
Mhm.
Georgia, and I was seeing some really special stuff. And I love the new coaching staff and everything they're doing at Alabama. And I thought, you know what? I just have a feeling. I hadn't even seen them yet. I just had this feeling. So I put it in my notes. I'll send it to you actually. Um, and And so but then I start going, "Okay, what can Missouri do? What can Auburn do? What can Utah?" Like, beginning of season was hard, you know? Don't even want to I didn't wanna mess with anything else.
Mhm.
The last thing I've ever when you've done this for as long as I've done it, and you've loved gymnastics and the people in it for as long as I've loved and been in it, you know when to back off,
Mhm.
give some space, don't do damage, try to let people, figure things out, heal things, fix things, talk about things with some space. Yeah. With some space and some grace. They
Right.
figure that out because they're also still trying to do gymnastics. you know, I mean, they're still going to the gym, they're still training, they're still planning, they're still hoping and building. So as I said, I've got those rotating teams. So then at regionals, I mean, oh my. And going in, you're like, so many great teams, so many teams that I could put in this qualifying space,
Mhm.
but pure numbers is going to eliminate some really great teams. So it was hard seeing Kentucky and Michigan and Missouri and Auburn going in seated but in hard regionals or even in a situation where, okay, it seems like, you know, you never say for sure because nothing is inevitable,
Mhm.
nothing is guaranteed. And even though we only have offense and no defense, the elephant in the room, the 800-pound gorilla, they meet at regionals and they create a pressure that's just different.
Mhm.
And we all sort of have to acknowledge that it's that weird pressure that we all train for to be able to compete at the Olympic Games, to compete under just kind of ridiculous stress, which
Mhm.
I don't want for NCAA. I don't want that. Like we survived it, we did it, but I don't want that for them. So I but you got to recognize it. You got to respect it. You have to know it's there and go, okay, I have to embrace it. I gotta love it. So it was the teams that were able to go in there, and what I noticed in mine, it's so much easier when you have nothing to lose, or that's what it feels like. You have to somehow flip it so that you can compete like you have nothing to lose and everything to gain instead of the other way around. So your top teams that go in, it's hard to not feel, no, I've got something to lose.
Mhm.
So watching it play out, and loving all these athletes and loving all these teams and these coaches, that's always the hard part of our job, you know, watching it. But how magical for Arkansas and Stanford. I'd say those are our 2 Cinderella teams. They were the Cinderella team at our regional, and it wasn't, I'll just tell you, I even mentioned because Nicole Pachanik was working
Mhm.
with us and she went to Stanford. She knows Stanford. And I said, Stanford could just pull a Stanford. And everybody knew what that was. It's like, yeah. So they start the season one way, and you're like, oh, no, 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 no way. And then all of a sudden, they just, everything kind of comes together and it's the right timing. And they have a phenomenal coach. Talent
Mhm.
is amazing. Their staff is amazing. And of course, the talent is there. And all of that's there. So it was kind of magical watching that all come together in that magical moment. And they get to go to the ball. The slipper fit.
The slipper fits. I do think there's this element, and I think it's the beauty, and I know you and I have talked about it, but just the beauty of it doesn't matter what you're ranked going into regionals. In reality,
Yeah.
maybe if you want a certain, rotation, whatever,
Yeah.
maybe, but in reality,
Mhm.
you said it's sometimes better for those teams that compete because they have nothing to lose. I
Yeah.
mean, Arkansas, Stanford, Florida. I think a lot of people counted Florida out, if I'm being completely honest. I do. I think they had such a climb all season, and then they kinda plateaued, and it was like, "Where are we going? What are we doing?" And at the end of the day, if it is your day
Mhm.
and you are competing light, free, happy, doing your job, it'll all play out the way it's supposed to.
I kinda changed a little bit because I did the same thing with Florida,
Mhm.
'cause at first I had them in, like, not at the top, but having a chance, and
Mhm.
then as I started to watch, I was like, they may just not quite have enough,
Mhm.
especially losing Kayla,
Yeah.
which wasn't anticipated in the beginning, and trying to fill and Trinity, like, those are just
Right.
huge shoes to fill in those lineup spots and having so much youth and all. And then when Peyton was injured, then you're thinking,
Mhm.
okay, maybe it's just things aren't going to line up for them. Well, I covered the Kentucky Alabama meet or Kentucky Florida meet at Kentucky
Mhm.
senior night for Kentucky. John and I covered it. And that's when I saw with Florida, I go, because I even threw that in. I said, Florida's making an argument right here at this meet. The same time, Utah was making an argument for
Mhm.
that, and I don't want to put them into fourth. I'm not. I'm just saying they're going to be in the mix. Is just those three teams that I have not wavered on, not
Mhm.
for 1 second all season long, the top three. Um, but that magical little fourth place, and depending on how everybody competes, I got to see Cal go lights out
Mhm.
in the regional final. That was unreal. Like, at one point, I even said to Bart, I think, that because they just kept sticking every bar dismount, every bar. I go, okay. Part of me wants to say that's getting old. Like, it's not though. It's like every dismount. I go, what if they go on that kind of run?
Mhm.
Nationals. Who else can do that? Oklahoma. What other team can find those landings so consistently? Because let's just face it, that's become a big, big um, like factor.
Mhm.
those landings. I mean, period. I can look at all the other parts and we can break that down and say, "Oh, but this and this is better," but
Mhm.
it's gonna be who gets hot and stays hot.
Mhm. And who sticks the most vaults? I swear to
Oh my god,
you,
oh, so I would rather what event would I like to start on now? Beam. It's like,
right?
start on beam, and I've said that, and I kept telling all my announcers, they're like, "Oh, that beam." I go, "Stop it." I'm telling you, beam is it's like people want that event and
Mhm.
they just go after it. Yes, it's beam. It's not a scary event. It's just it's the event with most room for error, and then
Oh, I like that.
teensy weensy error is a big thing.
Right?
Teensy weensy errors on other events you can fix and nobody knows. I'm telling everybody who's listening, you can do the same thing on beam. Those teensy weensy, all you got to do is follow through and finish. Follow through. Bridget, I know in your life you have saved something that you thought, no way. I am so off when I took off on this. And somehow, like a gyroscope, you find the beam, you lock it, and you make the adjustments that nobody even knows.
I had a way of finessing, one might say, of doing skills that definitely should not have landed on the beam, and all of a sudden, I'm throwing an arm out, making a dance move, and I'm like, "Just let it flow, just let it
Yes,
go."
yes. So, I mean, that's the point. And it's being determined in that
Mhm.
moment. And it's not just being determined, everybody's determined. But when you rule everything else out, like um, shut the trap door.
Yeah.
You gotta just shut the trap door. No, I'm not falling in that. This is yes, it's a pressure situation. I love it.
Mhm.
And just attack and finish. So I've loved beam. Vault, as you were saying, that is, I don't even want to say the new beam. It's not. It's its own event because it's an adrenaline event.
Oh,
So it's an
yeah.
adrenaline event. Okay. Because beam is not an
Right.
adrenaline event. But you got adrenaline, so you got to figure out what to do with it. You have to like, and you don't want
Right,
to over.
balance beam is almost you have to learn to control the adrenaline, where on vault, you can really just kinda let it go. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
obviously, for those, they need to
you know what
control it,
was
but for
happening?
most, it's like, let it out.
You know what I saw happening? And even with the great Haley Bryant, there were a couple meets, I was like, because they're so focused on the landing,
Mhm.
she started trying to rein in her vault. Don't rein that baby in, that launch it. That's what makes it so spectacular. Okay, because even if you have a slight little hop
Mhm.
into the salute position, still the best damn vault. Front one
Right.
and a half. Okay, because it's sky high, it travels, but not when you rein it in and you're trying to land.
Mhm.
Blast it and the stick will come. That's what you need to do. A vault like that, when you are a blaster, because not everybody's a blaster. I don't think I was a blaster, but
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's some one and a half twists that I'm like, wow, but you gotta blast it still.
Yeah. And when you say blast, for those listening,
Go
we're
big.
talking about, like, exploding off the vault. Getting that block, your arms and shoulders are so tight that it's like a spring, like a bouncy ball. Like, you bounce it and it just goes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was not one of them.
I know,
That
but
was
you
not
had
how I
finesse.
vaulted.
No, but you had finesse too to be able to find those landings. But some those who have both, and that's what you'd like to see happen in a competition. Because for
Mhm.
me, a 10-0 should only go to one that is big, bold, and perfectly stuck. All of it, not just perfectly stuck. Because there were some we saw that, honest to God, they were almost under rotated. I was like, they're gonna sit
Yeah.
down, and then they didn't. They saved it,
Mhm.
so they didn't move, and we're going 995. You're like, oh Lord, okay, okay, rose-colored glasses. So postseason here with the 6 judges,
Mhm.
what I hope will happen is it's the big, beautiful, bold, huge vaults that find their
Mhm.
those are the big scores. Those are the ones that, but you're right with vault, when the landing is so important and you need these, let's just face it. I mean, scores are high. They're
Right.
super high, they're super
Across the
close
board, like,
across
across
the
the
board.
board, they're high. We're not
Yeah.
picking out one team that's
No, I'm
I
not
mean
at all.
right.
They're all high, they're all close, and yes, I'll say they're all too high and all too close. That said, as long as they stay relative, when you get then we're okay 'cause it's exciting. I get it.
Yeah.
I get so excited when I see them enjoy those 10s and the 9F. It's so exciting and so wonderful, and I will never rain on their parade, ever. Um, but we gotta have space, obviously.
Mhm.
What if they all do it?
Right.
Okay, then there is differences now that, when you say big, gorgeous, perfectly straight, like their legs look like arrows. Okay.
Right.
Like one arrow. They're so together, legs are so straight, toes are so pointed. I mean, Kat Lavasser's 1.5 was just Maya Lazan's at regional final. Holy moly. That was I was like, okay, I'm okay. Go 10. And you know me, it's like I can usually find, and I see it in real time. I can often see a little cross or a little
Mhm.
soft knees or a little chuff or whatever. That was high. It was far. Like the way we showed the vault from the angle we did, you couldn't even see the table anymore. She was so far
Wow.
removed from the table, it was gone. She was out past, like, almost on that second seam.
Yeah.
Straight
Wow.
up, just nailed it, drilled it. So, there was some exciting vaults, but it's going to be the key event. It
Mhm.
is, in essence, the new beam. Um, I understand that analogy. It's different, but it is those scores, the one who blasts vault
Right.
and finds those landings, they have thrown down the gauntlet.
Well, and I know I've said over the years that vault is becoming the new beam, and I've said it in a way because beam historically was the make or break event. I
Mhm,
mean, if you hit beam,
mhm,
you were one step closer to that national championship being crowned on your head.
mhm.
But on podium, balance beam is a totally different animal. It is a totally different feeling. Like there are
Yes,
so many things that go into this equipment being on podium
yeah,
where I think I'm 99% sure it was Liv Karras who had said the winner of the national championship has to stick at least 3 vaults.
yeah,
And I don't wanna, like,
yeah,
toot Liv's horn, but I'm pretty sure she's spot on because I know Oklahoma,
yeah,
you have to like, they stuck at least 3. When
yes,
Michigan won, they stuck at least 3. Like, it's
yeah.
just
I
and
actually
it's
think it's
becau
gonna go across all 4 events,
Oh,
honestly.
yeah. Yeah.
I
That's a better
I
way to
mean,
say it.
you're gonna have to stick more than 3 on bars and beam for sure, um,
Mhm.
because you can. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
seeing they're more dialed in to those. All the
Mhm.
drills that athletes do, like, and the kind of dismounts they're doing, that's why I'm thrilled that I'm seeing more double twist dismounts off beam. I'm glad. And they're actually sticking them
Mhm.
in a way that's like pretty uncanny because I did that dismount and it's a hard dismount to stick consistently. I know you did it.
Mhm.
Um,
It's very easy to shuffle your feet on that
Yeah,
dismount. Like, very,
or
very
bounce,
easy
like, go
or
up on your
yeah.
toes, like, that's what I did. In fact, I did it at the Olympics. The final dismount I ever did on my life, was because I freaked everybody out. I was always very straight-legged when I landed because that's the way I like to land. Because
Mhm.
our emphasis is, and I'm waiting for teams to figure this out, the emphasis is on the finish position. It is not on the stick. But for so long, everybody was doing the emphasis on the, stick in the squat, sometimes 2
Mhm. The
squats, the
absorbing the
absorb,
landing.
and then arch back. Well, now all of a sudden you added this new things, and that's why everybody goes, "It's awkward." No, it's not awkward. You're making it awkward. Okay? Because you're trying to go bend, absorb, hold, I'm like, "Okay, that's a little like, I'm sorry, that's too many things." Okay, so you need to the way we did it back in our day because the emphasis was the hold of the salute, was this
Mhm.
before you turn to the judge. Now you don't even have to turn to the judge, but,
Right.
um, but it's hard for people to let go of that bent squat hold. But if you
Mhm.
try and don't get it, now you're screwed because you have to step, step back, go up here instead of, if you're not going to perfectly stick, get to the finish position. Get to it quickly because it might be a scoot that big. That's it. Hardly noticeable.
Mhm. I think that's why we aren't so with the new kind of code of points with the finishes, which is for those listening, you have to land, like,
Mhm.
absorb the mat, absorb your landing, and then stand up. Like, you have to show complete control, and I believe you have to, like, hold it for is it a sec
One
at
second.
least
One
1
second.
second,
Yeah.
but I think that's why we're not seeing as many head backs. Like, you're not seeing as many people throw their head back, so
Right.
I think you're onto something. I do
Yes.
think you're onto something, and I think that across the board, athletes are realizing that throwing your head back actually throws you off balance.
The way they were using it as the college stick was to
Mhm.
hide the step and the hop and the shuffle
Right.
and the whatever to emphasize this. Instead, you have to go, no, the emphasis is on the finish. Get there. Get there
Right.
probably quicker because unless you just happen to be so on that you can take your time, absorb, and
Mhm.
nothing can move me. I mean, an earthquake couldn't move me. Then stand up. But if it is not perfectly absorbed, get to the finish position and hold that.
Yeah.
Then you minimize your deduction.
Kathy, you might be onto something.
Yeah.
I hope those listening, if you're one of those people, you're taking some notes here.
Mhm.
Okay, so I do want to talk about the semifinals because these two semifinal 1 and semifinal number 2,
Yep.
which you can everybody can watch them on ESPN2.
Mhm.
That first semifinal
Mm,
is Arkansas, Cal,
mhm.
LSU, and Stanford.
Yep.
So that's semifinal number 1.
Yes.
2 teams out of that semifinal will advance
Yeah.
to the finals.
Yeah.
Who are your 2 teams?
So it's interesting that the 2 Cinderella teams are in the same semifinal.
Mhm.
Um, you just always have to keep your eyes on those Cinderella teams because here's the thing. What do they have to lose? Just think about it. They've already
Yep.
won, okay? They won their season by getting here. It was incredible. It launched their ranking like instantly. Where was Stanford before? Where was Arkansas? Like all of a sudden,
Mhm.
they are in the top 8 no matter what. So it's like, and how to get there? You compete like you have absolutely nothing to lose, everything to gain. Go all out, no regrets. Feel free, be normal, whatever.
Mhm.
So there's magic there. So I always
Right.
want that. But you're also going up against the 2 teams that I said from the very, very beginning, okay, these are the 2 teams I expect to give Oklahoma, or they have to get, they're going to keep the fire hot.
Mhm.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma can't just be Oklahoma. They've got to be their best Oklahoma, which they can do.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Watched it all season
I
long.
witnessed it at Big 12's, Kathy.
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And look at the numbers of routines. Like if you count up the routines that they did. So they had more meets, more routines than
Mhm.
anybody. They're not broken down. They're not. They don't look tired. They're just
No.
they don't. So they have everything figured out. Okay. And that's a really good thing. And Cal, the way they looked at regional final, okay,
Mhm.
then this is the thing. You got to get through semis. You can't save because there's no guarantee you're going to get through the semifinal
Right.
by saving. Years ago, people had to think like that. And especially when they were back to back meets, it's like,
Mhm.
we want to be at our best in the final, but we can't. Oh my gosh. No.
Well, and back in the day when it was, like, back to back, you wanted to be in that semifinal number
Yes.
1
Yes.
because you wanted to give your like, you wanted to give your athletes' bodies time to
Mhm.
recover, all the things. So, I do think there is a very massive shift in, like, It doesn't matter if you're in semifinal 1 or 2, there's no you still have a day off. Like, you still have Friday where you can recover and do whatever you need to do. But I feel like you said, Arkansas and Stanford, the Cinderella teams. I interviewed Jordan and Chris. They were my very first on this podcast, and I told them, I was like, "I just have a feeling this is gonna be a great year for you." And of course, they were like, "Thank you so much."
Yeah,
Watching them all season long, and it was a little bit of a roller coaster for them, for
yeah.
sure. They had super highs and then they had some lows. But man, when you figure it out at the end of season,
Mhm.
and when you're competing with just the joy that they have and the love that they have for not only the sport, but the program, just everything, it was like, I think they're gonna do it.
And they figured out beam.
Yes.
So that was their hard. I because I talked to Jordan, I drove up to watch the meet at Gainesville, one of the meets that I wasn't
Mhm.
covering because I live so close. So I just popped up there and watched sitting in the stands. Um, and then I got to talk to Jordan afterwards because they look great. Everything was going great, 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 great. And then beam, and it just sort of went, oh, and you could just see it like they just tightened up. They got nerve,
Mhm.
and it's hard for those of us who have competed beam
Right.
under pressure, and especially if we were good at beam, and
Mhm.
we were good at beam, like, I was g that was my event. It bit me a few times though, okay? So, it's like, I know beam bites.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you don't expect it, it'll bite you. So, it's not magic.
Right.
But I talked to her and you could just see not it wasn't disappointment or frustration, it was truly, I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
and because they have to figure it out.
Mhm.
You're doing the training, you're doing all the things right. It's just a matter, and then I said, "At some point, you gotta just tell them it's just beam. It's just beam." And then, because some and honestly, it's so simple, but I keep saying it over and over. Set up, follow through, and finish. Every skill, every time. No matter what. You don't because people are when you leave your body I even said this on the broadcast, Bridget. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that." I just said, going into the last event, this is not a Jesus take the wheel moment, okay?
Right.
You have to get in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, foot on the gas.
Mhm.
You're only gonna pump the brakes a little. You gotta go,
Yeah.
okay? You don't sit in the passenger seat and say, "How we doing? Oh, that was a little off." No, it's like you don't judge things as you're going. You don't not judge. You don't analyze or critique or I'm off. Like,
Right.
no, I
Yeah.
don't care where you are. Finish it. And then because the great Nadia Comaneci told me this story one time. Every time she watches the video of her 76 Olympic beam routine that she scored a 10, and she was like, oh my God, she was otherworldly in that time period. She looks at it now and she goes, "Oh my god, I was so off on the side aerial back handspring. I was so I still panic when I see it now." And I go back and go back and look at it." Or Shannon Miller, team finals, 96. Pull it up. I shared it on Twitter. Her foot landed on the edge of the beam after layout lap. The edge of the beam. They happened to be showing it from the end. All she did was she ended up changing her arm position. Foot stayed right on the end and she just I was like, okay, it's not over till it's over. And all you need is possible. Like sometimes we've seen things that are okay, so far off, that's not possible. Okay, that's
Right.
not possible. But if it's possible, if you finish strong, you can do it.
I mean, talking about impossible, let's travel back in time to 2013 when Florida was at the national championship
Yeah.
and we had to count a fall
First event.
on beam. Our very first event. Yes. And then we went to floor
Mhm,
and our first athlete up
mhm.
fell.
Yes,
So
you're
mind you,
going
there are 3 falls in total in that meet for us, and
Yeah.
only 7 athletes have competed.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
And to hear you say you just need possible, it kinda gave me goosebumps
Yes.
because I distinctly remember that year, that season, I remember it all, but that meet specifically, we
Mhm.
never, ever let up.
No.
Yes, we had mistakes. Oh, 100%. Of course we had mistakes. Now, can that happen in today's No. I mean, the amount of talent that we had was amazing, but it is everybody has leveled up to a point where it's like, that's probably not gonna happen in today's gymnastics, but back in 2013, it was a we knew that we were talented,
Yes.
and we didn't let I think the biggest thing to take away from that, and I've kind of applied it to really my whole life, is that when mistakes happen, you have 2 options.
Mhm.
You can either let it let it eat you alive,
Mhm.
or you can shove that monster away,
Yeah.
move on, get your blinders back on, and like, just keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
I think Arkansas has been doing that. Stanford has been doing that. They haven't let up when those mistakes come. And then again, going back to the semifinal number 1, you've got Cal and LSU who they've got the talent. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the semifinal number 1 is gonna be so incredibly exciting. Like, it's gonna be an absolute joy to watch
Yes.
because
That's a good word. It is, I think, absolute joy, because the second semifinal is painful. So,
we're gonna get into
'cause
that.
'cause it's gonna be painful. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be because only 2 teams can go on. It's gonna be, I mean, both of them will be painful
Mhm.
because,
No doubt.
their season will come to an end. But for the 2 Cinderella teams in session 1, it's like, as I said, they have already won.
Mhm.
This could be icing on the cake. This could be, and another opportunity. Wonderful. Not ruling it out. Like, you
Right.
never rule that out. There are Cinderella teams for a reason. Okay.
100%.
But the underlying feeling for everybody, I think, is just joy and opportunity. It's joy and opportunity to advance, to move on,
Mhm.
and everybody does their best, and it'll be magical to watch. The second one, I and I'm not putting any more importance on, but we've had this, I can't remember what year it was. Oh, which was it? But there were literally 3 teams in one session that could win the whole thing.
Right.
So when you have that, so look at these teams, you
Right.
know, not impossible, even though the 2 teams that I have consistently put in the mix to go for
Mhm.
the national championship, they're in the same session, LSU and Cal. But the second session, everybody's just assuming Oklahoma, Oklahoma. Everybody's assuming except for Oklahoma because that's the way they compete. They don't assume anything.
Anything.
Anything. You have to do it, and we have to be Oklahoma, and they're going to be Oklahoma. So let's say they will. Florida, Utah, Alabama. 3 completely different teams, who had completely different seasons.
Right.
Hard to predict. So I don't even wanna say, like, that, you've just got those are 4 teams that have won national championships. I think that's what everybody's looking at. These are 4 teams
Oh, yeah.
who know who grabbed the Holy Grail, who found the Holy Grail, I should say. Because for the longest time, that's what I used to call it back when it was, I mean, only Utah. Okay, it's
Yeah.
like nobody can beat Utah. Nobody did. And then all of a sudden, finally, UCLA got in there, and then like Georgia and Alabama. But then it just rotated through 4 teams. 14, like that was it. And
Mhm.
nobody could find until Florida. You guys decided to crash the party. And it's
You know me and the teams that I was on. We always like to shake things up.
yeah, kick the door down, and then win a few. So it's like, okay, now, and it was so good for gymnastics. I mean, I love
Mhm.
dynasties, and I love, like that, the magic of that. too,
Mhm.
but to see it open up, it's why we've loved the Michigan States. That was another heartbreak. I think we forgot to
I
throw that in
know,
there.
that
We got a
one
bunch of little like, I got a lot of little cracks in my heart here from
that one
this.
cracked my heart pretty deep. I yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot them at the very beginning because that was and I as I told them, I said it before, I had worn green in their honor because they were such a special team. They are still a special team. This does not
Mhm.
change it. Um, all of those teams that just missed, they're all special, and I hope that as painful as that moment was, that they know they can still believe, you know,
Yeah.
and I know that they will. I definitely know that they will, but it's hard on all of us,
Mhm.
you know? So
It's
it's
just
weird. These sessions, I don't know why we picked I
why did they do this to us?
no, I know, but how would you put it? Like, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know, but here's what it ends up for me, and this does not rule I stress this because I'm excited about all 8 teams,
Mhm.
and there's so much I love about all 8 of these teams. But I go back to just what my gut said, what my eyeballs told me from the very beginning that I watched from, you know, is Oklahoma, Cal, and LSU. Those were the 3 that just I go, I think this is their season. It just feels that way, and I think they're gonna be there at the end. So,
Mhm.
the way it's set up, that could happen because I think if LSU and Cal are their normal, if they're their normal, the way they've
Mhm.
competed most of the time all season long, I think they'll advance. I do. And that's even if the Cinderella teams, do their thing, which I hope they do. That'll be so exciting.
Right.
But the second session is less it's that second spot.
Yeah.
You know? Who gets it? Who gets it? It's the one who gets hot and stays hot and, you know
Yeah. I mean, gosh. Mm. I kept looking at it prepping for this episode. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna talk to
Yeah.
Kathy. We're gonna talk about semifinal 1, and then we're gonna talk about the second one." And this second one, it doesn't scare me, but I there are going to be 2 teams who walk away from that session.
No.
Well, you're gonna have 2 teams who are moving on, and you're gonna have 2 teams that their season ends right then and there.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest part about this sport
Mhm.
is that you can only control what you can control, which is your gymnastics. You know, you can only your energy, your attitude, those are all completely in your control. And when you are up at the NCAA semifinals, you gotta be on.
You
Yeah.
do. You do. And as I said, all 3 of the teams, Florida, Utah, and Alabama, you can pick out moments in their season, more than one moment, where
Mhm.
you go, "They can do this.
Yeah.
They can do this." Um, but then the same I can say where you go, "I can see where there could be a little crack." Okay? Because it happened. Like, we watch it's like, "Oh," So, up until regionals where they clenched and really got this opportunity, and maybe
Mhm.
that's what gives all 3 of those teams that added confidence. Just
Yeah.
that added layer of, "We're in this. We're in this." There is no like, it's not just good enough to be, you know, in the semifinal. We want
Mhm.
so it's gonna be a fight. I really do, and who keeps their head and their cool and stays like, all the things that we all say are so cliche. Stay in your bubble, stay in your don't worry about that. Like, that is it. You know
Yeah.
that.
Oh, 100%. And the one thing that I love about, again, this second semifinal, every single team, Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma, Utah, all 4 of them, they know what it's like to be on the big stage.
Mhm.
They know what it's like. They have the history in each program, and like you said, every single team, really, I think it's kind of crazy. All 8 teams kinda they have all different programs.
Yeah.
They've all approached the season totally different, yet they all made it
Yeah.
to this end point, which I think is not only the beauty of college gymnastics and that there is no guaranteed right way to do something. Like every single coach has a different philosophy, a different culture, everybody has something different. But I mean, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
after Thursday, you're going to have 4 teams advancing.
I know.
So,
Yeah, and I wish them all just like I always luck because 'cause they're I mean, you wanna wish everybody good luck. I
of
wanna wish
course.
them all good energy.
Oh, I
Um,
like that. Good energy, good vibes,
good
good
energy
just
just to feel free enough
Mhm.
to just compete their hearts out.
Yeah.
To compete their hearts out and just lift each other up because there will be some little mistakes. I'm hoping they're just tiny mistakes,
Right.
that there's nothing that would be ideal if
Mhm.
because everybody I mean, they're gonna be tiny mistakes. It's how they handle them. It's how they cover them. It's how they camouflage those little things to
Mhm.
minimize the deduction. And then in the end, who needs to be on their game? The judges. They gotta be on
Oh, I was like, "Who?"
Ooh, ooh. No, because the gymnasts are on their game.
Right.
I need every judge to be on their game and like really, really, really because this is, we're moved past. I expect all these great teams to hit the routine. Hit.
Mhm.
They all got 10-0 start values except for a few
Yep.
vaults. And so it's almost like everybody's just so eyeballs need to be sharp and they need to get it right, obviously, as right. And there is no so it's like everybody get over it. It's an artistic, judged sport. But here's what I stress
True.
it's not actually as subjective as you sometimes
We've put in the universe. I think as a collective
is.
whole, we've made it very clear that it is subjective.
Oh, some no, but there are objective tools to use subjectively. That's what I
Oh.
would like to say. There are objective tools in the code. They're all there in the code of points. Everybody has eyeballs. They can tell when something is really high and
Mhm.
elevated. And when they hit that perfect shape where it's emblazoned in your eyeballs because they hold it so long, you're like, that's a complete split, or that is the perfect pack shape, or that is, you know. And as I keep stressing, if you can tell a gymnast has knees or feet, if you can tell they have knees or feet, they're slightly soft.
Oh,
That doesn't mean hack away. That just means, okay, it's not perfect. Tiny little deduction. Because then when somebody comes up there and you go, where did her knees go? Where did her feet go? Like,
right.
so I got a gift today. I don't know if you seen it. I put out a funny, not a funny, it was a heartfelt, it was very heartfelt, not funny at all. Tweet. Do you know I never got to call Lily Smith's gymnastics ever? So she's beautiful. Like
Oh,
her
yeah.
gymnastics is stunning. It speaks to me.
Mhm.
It just does.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, I was like, "Is it possible to miss something deeply you never got to do?" I go, "I can't believe I never got to call." So I just sort of threw it out there because when she qualified, I was like, "Oh, good. So happy for you. What a freshman year. Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful gymnast. Good luck." Courtney reached out to me and said, I'd love to fly you in to call her last intra squad or whatever. And I was like, I can't get on a plane to do it. I go, but I want to do so like, how fun would that be? Just for fun. It's a gift to me. It would help
Yeah.
Lily because she's had to train by herself, doing an intra squad by herself. So we got on Zoom and I sat and watched her do her intra squad meets today. And I called them
Oh
so that I got
my
to
gosh.
gush and gasp and do all my
That's
cool
amazing.
and it was such a gift to me, and then to be able to talk to her, to just tell her how special her gymnastics
Mhm.
is, how beautiful it is, how appreciated it is. I go, it's kind of a lost art. It's because there's so much emphasis on other things. It doesn't mean those
Mhm.
other things aren't incredible and wonderful. I get excited about them.
Yeah.
But the artistry and the I mean, exquisite just form, the pictures she creates, the extension. I was like, It's glorious. It's glorious. So, I got my little farewell gift, and it was fun to be able to give that to them, and it
Of
made it
course.
easier for because you're in a gym. I know how hard that is, and
Oh, yeah. Well, and Kathy, that's actually you just pretty much did the perfect transition because Lily Smith
yeah.
from Georgia will be competing as an individual. So, for those listening, I know Kathy and I have been really talking about the team competition, which is important, but the beautiful thing about postseason is that you can qualify to the NCAA championship as an individual,
Mhm.
which means every single individual title, the all around vault, bars, beam, floor, could be captured by anybody. You might not even see a single, maybe individual take first place that is
Mhm.
on a team. I mean,
Yeah.
I I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wrong on that statement, but the possibility is there.
Yeah.
So there are some incredible athletes that have qualified, and the only way to
Mhm.
qualify to the NCAA championships is at regionals.
Mhm.
So, I'm just gonna run through a hand I mean, the all-arounders are just
Yeah.
you've got Jade Carey.
Mhm.
Hello.
Yeah, and she's fine like, she really peaked at regionals, and she's ready to put on a great
Yes.
all-around.
Agreed, agreed. So you have Jade Carey out of Oregon State, Lily Smith out of Georgia, Gabby Wilson from
Mhm.
Michigan, who is just a star.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we can literally go down all of them. You have Skylar out of Washington who qualified at the Cal
Mhm.
Regional. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of talent that the NCAA championship brings from a team standpoint is always just up there, but from an individual standpoint, it's like you're seeing the best of the best
Yes.
at this competition,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of talk out there and that the people that miss event finals and miss being because is it the absolute perfect way to award individual because competing in team competition is different when you're
Mhm.
not just competing for yourself. So, but that said, to be able and this is truly one of the greatest joys now is that the individual gets to move around with a team and they adopt her
Yeah, absolutely.
for the day and they cheer, they know their routines. I love this part of it because when it first started, it wasn't quite like that. They were like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they cheer up, but now there's just a bond there because we
Mhm.
know the importance of having that kind of support that you've relied on all season long.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're not with your team, but this team is embracing you, gonna love on you, gonna, build you up, gonna be there for you,
Mhm.
and I love that part.
They're kinda like the step in your step-in family, and they really do. It is beautiful to see from an outsider perspective and also someone who's been in it, and
Mhm.
it's really, really amazing to see teams come together with those individuals, really take them in,
Yeah.
and, I mean, again, the individuals that you'll see over the weekend are the best of the best, but one thing that I love that it does for each and every program, it puts them on the map.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
what a huge momentum
Yeah.
for each program, especially NCAA gymnastics right now. I mean, you and I have talked about it for years, how it just keeps getting it doesn't matter what conference you're in, it doesn't matter what school you're at, you are leveling up.
Yeah.
You are taking that step, and I think it's such a magical moment. You've got Arizona State on bars, you've got Boise State,
Mm.
Arizona State on vault, Maya Houghton
Yeah.
from Minnesota.
Yay.
It's just I mean, I think there's just
Yeah.
so much
Mm.
to it
And
and
Gabby
so
and
much
Sierra from Michigan. I mean, this is 2
exactly.
years in a row that it's gonna pain me to not see the team there, but as I said, it's a pure numbers thing, and,
Yeah.
it things happen at regional, um, but what a neat thing for Gabby and Sierra, to be back at nationals and get to enjoy them and really give them a beautiful send off. Um, because
I
these are the athletes that have built
mhm.
NCAA gymnastics. I mean, start like Bridget, seriously, you started something huge. Really. Coming no, you did. You
Kathy,
were the first
Kathy,
world
I did not
all-around.
start
Yes, I know.
anything.
Yes, you did. There was this, like, draw now 'Cause most elite gym they're like, "No, no, no, I'm not going to," like, there's nothing to go, like,
Yes.
that's different, that's it's different,
Mhm.
absolutely, but it's magical. Like,
Yeah.
and now we're seeing the benefit going both ways. So that is one of the coolest things that I'm glad I have been around long enough that I've gotten to see the evolution of NCAA gymnastics, and you actually did start something, like, you were the first world all-around champion to come in and compete for college, and do so with a lot of passion and heart, and then take it to, it's like, "Oh, this is no joke. Okay." Like, you mean, "Oh, wait, I gotta be more perfect. I get it now. It's not just about all the big tricks and stuff. I gotta do it every weekend?" Like, that gets to be, that's a new thing. So, you helped start that going, and more, because I remember doing an interview with you, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna do a commercial, okay, for NCAA gymnastics, all the elites out there, keep this on your map. Keep this
Mhm.
in your," and now with NIL and stuff, it's allowing, you don't have to choose like Jordan Wheaton
Yeah.
had. You
Yeah.
don't have to choose. You can do both.
Well, and I think it's crazy. It used to be so rare to see elites in college, and
Yeah.
now it's rare to not
Oh,
see them in college. In some magnitude, you're just seeing
mhm.
more and more, and I think it really makes me happy to see that because you should never make an I just you should never have to choose. I hate that there are athletes out there today that had to choose. I mean, you had to make that decision, and ultimately, I would like to give credit to every single one of them because it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
They are doing amazing in life, but the beauty of gymnastics, especially from elite to college, is you can do both. And
Yeah.
you're seeing what I also love, and I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole because I really could, but you're seeing coaches so much more willing to help athletes achieve their goal no matter what it is.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that
No,
really
and
touches my heart
the energy and the commitment that takes,
for
um,
sure.
to do it, and they're working it out, and then you love that they have the support and the resources at their schools, 'cause I mean, it makes it easier on the athlete to be able to do both. It helps us all learn and realize, because I had to just take the chances, like, "Yeah, you can do gymnastics when you're 25." Like, I was a month away from 25 in '84. I started so late, we boycotted Nate, like, so I had no
Mhm,
choice, but that helped others think, "You know what? I can do it longer." Kathy did. Like, you
mhm.
don't have to be 16.
Yeah,
Like, and
which is huge.
now everybody's saying, "Well, of course," they look at the age. Age is a number. Like, and then,
Yeah.
of course, yes.
Yeah, age is just a number.
Yeah, and sometimes that number can bite, but yeah, like, okay. It's different. It's different when you're doing gymnastics older, but sometimes it's better. Like, when because I worked on a film after the Olympics, and when you're on a
Mhm.
film set and it's all about gymnastics, the only thing you have to do is gymnastics. So I played and I was like, I learned new tricks. I was in great shape. And one of our Olympic coaches happened to be kind of on set because we were doing it in Arizona. She goes, "Are you sure you don't want to, like, come?" And I was like, "No, I'm just having fun." But I go, "God, you know what? When I got into running and then I got into dancing and then I doubled somebody feel, I was like, I could do this." Literally in
Yeah,
my mid 30s, I felt better, healthier, very definitely, um, in my mid 30s. So
that's amazing.
I'm just saying, like, and Simone's gonna show us, Chusavitna has shown us, and John,
Oh, yeah.
good lord, like,
I mean, that's the shift in gymnastics, which I think is such a good thing because
yeah,
I'm really taking a hard left here with this conversation, but I do believe that when I was training for the Olympics, prime example, I tried for I qualified for 2008. We did our thing. Hooray, hoorah, here we go. But then I tried for 2012 and I was considered like a dinosaur.
yeah,
I
right?
mean, I will never forget Alicia and I picture this, Alicia Sacramone and I are getting ready for Olympic trials, and people are legitimately telling us that we're prehistoric. I was almost 20. I hadn't turned 20 yet. Alicia might have been 24 if
That's
she had like, can
no,
you imagine? And
no,
it's like,
because I
I'm looking
can't.
at myself thinking, I'm prehistoric. And now I look at the athletes and I'm like, you do your thing.
Oh, I know.
You do your thing.
I know, and I because yes, I do. I was almost 21 and the first Olympic team I made, and
Mhm.
I didn't get to compete, but I was almost 21, so I'm already old. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I never wasn't old, just saying. So my first Olympic trials, but it was my first year of elite gymnastics, because I started so late, and
Mhm.
I made it to Olympic trials in '76, but I was already 16 and a half, almost 17.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just starting. I didn't realize, or as Nadia told me when she goes, "You didn't start till you were 12?" She goes, "You're done by then." Like, I was like, "I know."
Oh, that is
It
too
was
funny.
yeah, but you're right, we're changing and finally people are feeling, and I am telling you, I felt better going in a gym, trying stuff and doing stuff in my mid-30s. Now, would it have been different if I actually committed to training? Like, hats off to everybody who goes, "Trinity, Tom, getting back in it." I mean,
I love it. I
I
love
love
it.
it. I do too. It's awesome.
Well, Kathy, we have a very exciting weekend coming up, but is there anything else you want to tell the people to help them prepare for this
Sure.
just magical NCAA championship?
Split your eyeballs. Remember that's been my trying to watch this with the two, routines going at the same time, practice being able to do that because you don't want to miss a minute. You don't want to miss a second. You don't want That's the hard thing because
Mhm.
gymnastics when you're going back and forth, the best part may be right after the mount. It's not a race, it's not a game. It's a performance and to soak it all in. And most important, know that as you watch your favorite athletes, your favorite gymnasts perform and compete, um, that they all have things going on that you may not even know that they're dealing with just in life and in that moment. So celebrate everything they do, their specialness, their resilience, the joy that they bring to those of us who have been lucky enough, and I've been damn lucky to have done it for as long as I've done it, to be able to follow so many careers and so many incredible women. So just enjoy, you know, every every little piece.
Well, thank you, Kathy. This has been
Mhm.
amazing. Thank you so much. You're so wonderful.
You're so wonderful. Everybody's so wonderful. This is just, I mean, gymnasts are good people.
That's right. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. We are good people.
A little crazy sometimes, but
Hey, that's all right. That's all right.
yeah,
Well, Kathy, again, thank you so much for coming on. You are just such a joy every time that we talk. So I can't wait to have you back.
yeah. Look forward to it. Love you, Bridget.
Love you. That wraps up today's episode. Make sure to tune in every week because we will be dropping new episodes with the amazing guests I have lined up for you. This is Flipping Out with Bridget Sloan, and I am your host, Bridget Sloan. Please make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Let's make some good life choices out there, and don't forget to be awesome. Bye, y'all.